Notes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Graders Notes, the greatest grading live stream you are currently watching. Yeah, I kind of stole that from my Friday show, but here we are. So we are right now sans one grader, but we'll see if he's going to show. If not, he might lose his Graders Notes exclusive privileges, but we'll never know. The man works hard. So I'm joined, as always, by some great compatriots in the comic book world who need no introduction. So let me introduce them now. We got directly to my right over there, none other than the godfather of comics, Metarog. Sir, how you doing this fine evening?
I'm blessed, my friend. Great to be back here with you guys. We're short Kenny, but anytime at least the three of us can get together, if the four of us better, it's a good night to be talking comics with my buddies.
That's right. Parties and hilarity will ensue. So, and speaking of the one who always gets his man, we have the Mountie. I mean, Mr. Miracle down there. Mr. Rougeau, how you doing this fine evening, sir?
I am pretty good. Sort of an oddball pick, sort of an out there number, but interesting story. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, it is. This one has a special place in my heart for whatever reason. I've had this one is maybe my third longest owned comic. I've had this comic since like middle school, I think. Wow. And yeah, it's a classic. Actually, no, it wasn't middle school. It was after that. But I've had it for quite a while. So yeah, it is an odd one. And for those you don't know, we're going to be doing West Coast Avengers number 69. And no, it's not a double entendre joke or anything. It's just how it wound up being. So Roger also has the book with me. And we're going to go over this seminal classic here. It's just, like I said, this is not a key. Nothing really huge happens here. And I think from time to time we get too caught up in the importance of a book, instead of just enjoying a good old comic every now and then. So I wanted to bring it down a little bit. To the more street level, if you will. But let's go ahead and say hi to a few people that are in the chat. We have Wayne, Mr. Unruly Simi himself, the best pinch hitter in the biz. What's going on, sir? Good to see you. Good to see you. Mr. Roy Kirk. Ah, yes, the lurker of all things YouTube comic related. Good to see you again, brother. Good to see you. Yeah, sorry if I'm sounding a little bad. I'm still not 100%, but, we'll get there. Who among us really is? But maybe I can do a Friday show tomorrow. So who knows? We'll give Kenny another minute or two to come in. If not, we'll go ahead and get started without him and let him jump on if he does arrive. The incredible podcast that would be so simple is here tonight too. Good to see you. Good to see you. See Stan Lee's lurking down there in the corner. Good to have you. Good to have you. I think Stan Lee would approve the story. That's what I think. Did you got to read it though, right, Dave?
Yeah, well, I read it for sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'll have a digital copy up for you when we do the thing. So for all those in the know who've seen the show over the last year and a half, we've been doing it or so. We grade this thing on 4 categories and give an overall score. Of course, the categories are going to be cover, interior art, story, and concept, which is kind of an ephemeral thing, but we try to lean some credence to it. And then, of course, you, the 5th grader, are the most important. Well, tonight you're the 4th grader. So make sure to get your chat scores in. And who has the next pick here?
That'd be me.
I think Mr. Miracle does.
And are you going to give a chat choice today, or do you just pick a book?
Well, let's give it a chat choice. I got a couple.
Right.
We'll do that after the second round, right?
After second round.
Yeah. Yep. During the intermission, if you will. Hey, David Kaz, wasting money. Good to see you. Good to see you. Uh-oh. I sent you a bum webcam, did I?
Uh-oh.
I don't know that you can, well, it's probably been too long now for any warranty work, so sorry to hear about that, man. Hopefully, just gonna have to sign or read lips or get captions, I guess. But, or get an external mic, that's what I do. I have my webcam up here and then another mic on the side, so maybe I'll send you a mic or something. But good to see you, glad you can make it. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in to the cover as we usually do, because that's the first thing we always see in a comic book, right? So the cover. So let's go ahead and let Dave go first. I like to let him lead things off, and then I will pull up the cover for you, sir, and have at it.
All right. So this cover definitely grabbed my highest mark. I thought it's a very good perspective. Again, not a rug pull. It's something that we've always hit on here in Graders Notes. We hate it when whatever's going on in the cover has nothing to do with what's in the book. But this is actually, a setup. It's like telling you what the deal is. So much so that they even have to put it in writing right on there. Hawkeye versus the U.S. agent. Okay, yeah, we got that. We see that, right? So that kind of irked me a little bit. That little blurb. I'll refrain from saying the word, but no duh. How's that? That's what's happening here. The U.S. agent is obviously giving Hawkeye a fistful there. Good perspective, good body, very nice anatomy going on with these gentlemen. Definitely could tell that Hawkeye's just taking a hard hit, and the U.S. agent has the one that's thrown it. West Coast Avengers treatment, of course, always classic 90s that you've probably seen a million times in the dollar bin. And yeah, little floating heads in the corner there is always good too. But yeah, I definitely like this cover. I thought the coloring was good. I thought, the water looked good. Everything looked good. These guys looked good. And with a lot of action that was really well portrayed through the illustration. So yeah, I gave it a 4.
All right, good strong first score coming in for Mr. Miracle there. So 4 on the cover. And
nice.
I think it was the same artist that did the pencils inside, right? It was Paul Ryan, right?
Paul Ryan, yeah.
And I know Danny Bonatti's worked from a lot of Captain America days. He worked with Ron Lim and Rick Levins quite a bit, and Mark Greenwald. So always a competent inker there. So Roger, sir, what say you? What was your thoughts on this eponymous cover here?
Yeah, I'm in agreement essentially with Mr. Miracle there. This is really actually the panel. If you look at the panel inside, it's very close to this cover, but it's not a swipe of it. It's it's actually its own art. But I really do like when they do things like that. That it portrays the focus of the plot is this. Although there are other things we'll talk about in the story, right? And it happens at night. And there is a full moon, so they've got, obviously he's an interior artist, so he knows all that. So in a sense, I like the fact that the interior artist also did the cover, because usually you don't get the rug pulls when that's the case, right? Sometimes they'll send the art out and say, hey, this is what's going to be in the comic, and then you don't get a very good sense of what is going in the comic, because the cover has a lot of artistic license stuff. I really like that little full moon up there, and the palm trees on that cliff top there. Really cool little detail. I like the little cheese there on the moon. Little craters. Yeah, the left around hook there that U.S. agent is giving Hawkeye. It's pretty well done. He doesn't need a lot of that motion stuff. The water is going, he's going away and the water is there. So that's good motion art there. Sometimes, you figure, well, what's heavier? Well, the body is heavier, so the water's going to stay there and it's moving in that motion. Hawkeye has he's partially wearing his armor here with the gauntlets, which he didn't have in the inside. That's a nitpick and a half, right? Avengers West Coast, the trade dress, it's okay. It's nothing spectacular, nothing to detract it. Yeah, the floating heads are cool. It gets the job done, right? It really does say to you, okay, there's going to be some fisticuffs in this cover going on, right? Now, Hawkeye's face, I don't know, it looks a little odd to me. I know he's being beat up and everything, but I don't know, it just looks a little like there's too much brightness on that side of the face. I think, considering it's a full moon, but I mean, it's not like the sun, right? But other than that, I really do like the positions here, because again, it sort of mimics that interior panel. I like the kind of purplish, that the water looks kind of greenish, which I guess when you look at the full moon at night, I guess it does have that kind of effect like that. I'm partially colorblind, so maybe it's different for you guys, but to me, it does have that kind of effect at night. When I lived in Miami, I remember that. So, it's nothing spectacular. There's not like amazing, it's pretty tight pencils, a little dark because of where it is. I gave it a slightly lower score than Mr. Miracle, just because it didn't grab me as much as I wish it would, but I really like, the whole layout here. So I gave it a 3.5, and it is, to me, the best part of this comic is right here on the cover.
We got some little spoilers there.
A little bit. So yeah, the Hawkeye versus U.S. Agent, I think that's redundant, but anyway, we're comic nerds, not everybody is, so maybe that's why that's there. But 3.5.
All right, another pretty strong grade coming in there from Roger, 3.5. So apparently this is my turn now, and yeah, this is a really good cover. Has a lot going for it. I like the little the aura around the moon too. It's kind of nebulous and pinkish hue. That's a nice little touch there. You don't see that too often, but it's kind of an idyllic setting too, because you got these bluffs and cliffs with the palm trees in the background. So definitely reeks of West Coast, right? So that's kind of a nice little topography inclusion there. But there's a lot of good stuff going on in this cover as far as physics go. Like, I like that John Walker's throwing a left here, and then Hawkeye is actually careening off to his left, as he should be. Like, if you take a hit on the right side, that's what's going to happen. So Roger's right with the water's coming off, showing a nice little sense of motion, saves you off from all those speed lines and all that you got to draw in there. So nice restraint shown there. It's a pretty good pretty good perspective here is what I'm trying to spit out here. John Walker is getting suitably just small enough in the background to realize he's farther away, and his fist looks like right because it's a little more in the foreground. So a lot of good little touches there. He has a nice twist to his torso. Hawkeye too, without looking deformed like he's missing ribs or something. It looks pretty natural, right? And the way his right arm is kind of flying up there, that's what's going to happen, So I kind of dig it. It's a really good physics shot, if you will. There's a lot. It is maybe a little too reflective because it's just a full moon, but he does have lots of little reflections. Let me get the mouse over there on all those little pieces of armor, which is kind of a nice little touch. And here and here, his face is a little bit bright, but it is what it is. The ocean's kind of turbulent, which is in keeping with the rest of the subject matter at hand. So trade dress is a little too big, and definitely could have done without the Hawkeye versus U.S. Agent. That's just what you did back then. You had to tell people what was inside. Hawkeye is not too bloody obvious here, to be honest with you, without his mask on. So a lot of people might not recognize him if they weren't hardcore fans. But honestly, you weren't buying West Coast Avengers if you weren't a hardcore fan of comic books. So
true.
So that is kind of redundant. They did use their specific trade dresses for each of the names, which is kind of a nice little touch too. But it kind of takes away. I think the action speaks plenty good enough without the gigantic trade dress and the Hawkeye versus U.S. Agent in there. So I gave this one a 4 as well. I really like it. Colors are muted but accurate to their costumes. I like the idea of them fighting in the ocean. And like Roger and Dave both said, this is not a rug pull. What you see here basically happens in all of its entirety through the book. So yeah, I gave it a 4. I think it's a really strong cover. I definitely would have gave it a second look on the newsstand. And this is really, really like late 80s, early 90s, like when they love to make. That's how you sold comics, man, making the heroes fight each other. Who cares about them fighting villains? They want to see. And usually it's one panel inside, and they've figured their differences out. But so I dig it. I gave it a 4, and yeah, so a pretty strong start, I think, for the book.
Nice.
All right, so we turn this over to you, chat. What say you? Was this initial foray into the book worthy of both story and song, or is it just merely an average outing from the same penciler and inker duo who is found within? Please let us know in your chat grades now.
I think you nailed it when you said it was all about superheroes fighting one another. That was good.
Yeah,
they loved doing that back then, man. I'm not.
Yeah, Thor Hulk is perhaps the biggest one. Whenever that happened, that issue sold a bunch. Thing versus the Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Punisher fought everybody. New Warrior,
true.
Darkhawk, whatever. He was always fighting somebody that was another hero.
True. But this one is a long run feud, though. So yeah, if you read this, if you were, like you said, if you were a fan of this, and you had to be, to get it right, you knew that this was going to happen sooner or later. So,
especially if you read the book.
Oh yeah.
So since we have not as many people on tonight, I'll make it a little bit faster one. So give me 10 more seconds to get your grades in, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next category here.
It's like our pal Unruly Simeon agrees with you too. Gave it a 4.
A man of impeccable taste, to be sure.
Well, he is. That's true.
Just like the haberdasher for Clint Barton there. It does. There is kind of like an Iron Man look to the gauntlets there, isn't there?
Yeah.
The way I'm looking at him now, but
well, Tony Stark makes his armor, right?
Yeah.
His battle armor,
which I had never really seen in Hawkeye before. I don't think in reading before, so it was I was a little bit nonplussed. I was like, "Where did that come from?" But
it's pretty new. Right around the time this was published is when that happened.
Yeah, I don't remember reading it before. Let's see. Which actually makes sense that he has some. He should have some, right? But
yeah. But Hawkeye, just make him more arrows.
Just more. And he needs a shield arrow. That just throws up a ballistic shield around him. So the chat comes in with a 3.5 as well.
3.5, yeah, right on the nose.
So I think we can all agree it's a pretty strong outing here. I stopped getting West Coast Avengers at 58. Well, you missed this one. Way to go. Now you got to pick up the next 10 or 11 of them. So, all right. So, okay. Let's keep with the art. Keep the art rolling on this one since it might be the strongest aspect of the book for some. And Roger, why don't you lead us off? What did you think about the interior art here from Mr. Ryan and Mr. Bullinati?
Okay. Well, starts off really, really well done. And that first, right there, that splash page, that there's with the title Grudge Match, right? That obviously it's going to be just not a few panels here. There's going to be a prolonged fisticuffs coming your way. And I really like, he obviously took his time here. Nice shiny gauntlets. Obviously his mouth is wide open to show that he's, into it, is emotional about it. So, pretty well done there. You have the moon, full moon back there. I really like a good start. Now, as the comic goes on, and I realize this is at night, right, and all that, but at least my copy, it seems just a little too dark for you to see a lot of the detail. Like on the online one, it looks a lot brighter, right? But the one I have here in my hands, boy, it's just hard to see certain details. Now the faces, now he does John Walker like with this kind of like muggish guy, like just kind of a throwback face, and that's not really who he is. He is a overbearing jerk, but he's not really that that Neanderthalic or anything like that. So I'm not sure if I'm crazy about that. The next one, Genome, he does a really nice job of showing the motion, by a lighter shade, almost transparent, and the progression. Notice how fast Hawkeye is shooting those arrows, because he can knock an arrow back like within 0.3 seconds. I mean, I remember reading this from way back when. I really like that kind of motion, right, that he puts on that. And notice the panel is elongated to show that. So well done on his part. Now, I want to mention it here in the art, but it's really more the story. This has a flashback and then a flash forward constantly throughout this issue, which I have a problem with, but we'll talk about that in the story, right? It's not really the artist's fault, but you kind of lose track of what's happening exactly with the fight sometimes. And I'm like, I want to see what, so it's frustrating in that sense. It has nothing to do with the art itself, right? But like, for example, let's see if you look at page 9, and again, they're discussing the roster and the voting for members and things like that. And he like Tigra looks kind of happy there, like she's a happy-go-lucky. And then you see Pietro there, and he's like grim, like I really don't care about what's going on here. He does a pretty good job as far as that goes. I really do think he did a good job there. As the story goes on, he shows a lot of emotion in the face. I like that aspect from Ryan and Bullinati. I really do. I think that they do a great job there. There's a lot of shadowing, like on page 13. You can see that bottom left elongated panel. They're kind of shaded there, which makes sense, right? There's a lot of trees, and the light may have been blocked at that point. Those are nice little details, and that's not a fight scene per se. It's more of a exposition scene. So you don't want to block them out when you're doing the actual fighting. So he's doing a good job there. On the page 14, that bottom, again, elongated panel, really good how he's like almost like a judo thrower, use the man's momentum against him. Really well done there. Really, I don't have any big issues. I mean, other than the Walker's face, U.S. agent's face every once in a while, and just it's just a little too dark in my, for me to appreciate the art. I don't know if that's really Paul Ryan's fault. It may be the production or maybe the colorist, but it goes into the art itself. So I'm gonna just put it down as that. I'll leave the rest to you guys. I think this is better than average, though. I really do. The story flows well. The fight scenes flow well. The static membership stuff is basic stuff, but I think this is better than average. I gave it a 3. I really did think it was. I'm not a crazy about Ryan. I think he's average at best, but I think in this case with the Bolonati inks. He did a really nice job. I think he put some really good effort into those fight scenes. I wish it was displayed differently, but that's not his fault. It is the maybe, I don't know who decided that, or the writer, the editor, whatever. But better than average, 3.
All right, 3 it is. And let me welcome. I didn't say hi to Bill and Magic Lasso and Benny Compton. Good to see you. Glad you could make it by. I think Pietro's move is always defiant. Yeah, that was kind of his shtick, wasn't it?
Yep.
He's just pissed because he wasn't Magneto's son, right?
He's always salty.
Yeah. He was emo before that was cool, so he just didn't chop a hot topic yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and take this next round here and talk about the art. And I think this is one of the instances where the artist was matched up with the book quite well, or at least the theme of the book. I think. He's not often bandied around, Mr. Ryan, like, in the upper echelons of artists and all that. He was a workman kind of artist, but this was a really solid outing of his. There's not too much I don't like. Now, some of this might be like some battle damage. Hawkeye's face did kind of get the pug look too. And like he's been taking a beating. I mean, that's normal because he takes a brutal walloping in this book, right? Yeah. But even without it, he has kind of a pugnacious looking face, and he's not the guy taking licks, right? At least with John Walker, it makes sense. He's a fisticuff kind of guy, but Hawkeye, if he's getting that close, he's in big trouble, right? So I like a little more refined, like the AJ Simon kind of look, right, for him. So, and he didn't really capture that too well in this, but that's okay. That's fine. That's not a real big thing because really you're not looking at their faces too much in this book. You're looking at their actions, and there's a lot of action in this book. There's also a lot of static shots, and I do like the whole silhouette and the sepia tone stuff they use, and it's almost like a flashback in some spots. And like here, like they'll be in the lee of the cliff or whatever. So now they're just getting lit by moonlight and what's reflecting off the phosphorescent waves, right? So, but it does go back and forth, and there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes you think it'd all be like that since it's Twilight, but whatever. I think it's kind of cool in a way. One of the things I think is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, is he seems to catch like the stance and the facial expressions you would expect from these characters, like not just Hawkeye and U.S. Agent, like basically every West Coast Avenger. Jan looks very happy and go lucky. It's kind of her thing, right? Hank is not nearly as moody in this version because he's getting ready to step back in a big way, right, from the team. So it just, I don't know, it seems right. Simon's always got this smile on his face because that's him too. That's his shtick. And I think he just captures everyone well. Scarlet Witch is always looking unsure of herself because that's, once again, her thing. So I think he conveys that quite well. And like I said, this, none of this is going to be down in the, how to draw the Marvel way kind of thing. But honestly, this is, I think, a really solid outing. He has a really good progression, like right here, as Hank is kind of going through his spiel about, I'm going to fight you without my armor. It's a great thing. He shows him pulling the gloves off his helmet. It's a nice progression. This guy has a really good command of storyboarding, and most of the time his perspective is on point too. So yeah, I won't go on to this too much. I really like it, man. I think I gave it a 4 as well. Let's see. Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well. I mean, this is for me how you would do an action comic, especially in the time that they did. This is kind of, it'll still be the 90s style to it, but there's a little bit of like kind of Zekish kind of feel to this to me too, which I kind of dig on. not as stylized as Zek, but I'm not a huge fan of the stylized art too. So I don't know. I think it's pretty good, man. Let me see if I can get down to one of the really good, bigger panels for the fights and all that, which he doesn't do a ton of, but I'm trying to show you. But pretty dense stuff here. Like I like this one here with all the guys coming in at an angle. So anyway, I'll leave something on the bone there for Dave. But yeah, I was actually really impressed with this rendition, and maybe some minor quibbles with the lighting because it's a little bit inconsistent throughout. Menrock is right; it's kind of dark. Makes sense. They're fighting in moonlight, whatever, in that. But why they really had to do it at night, I don't know. Maybe just for aesthetic reasons. Like they could have done it in the daytime too. But I don't know. I like it. I really do. And this is like Scream's comic book to me. So I gave it a 4 as well. I mean, that's probably a little higher score than it really is. Like if you compare it to like a 4, like a John Buscema book or something like that. I mean, but come on, let's not get crazy here. So I gave it a 4. I really enjoyed it. I liked it. Some of the colors, you can't do some about some of the colors palette here because you're stuck with the the uniforms of the people. And there were some pretty garish ones on the West Coast Avengers, admittedly. So I gave it a 4. I dug it.
Nice.
All right. So, but will my digging it kind of rub off on the next grader? So, what say you, Dave? What was your idea about the pencils and inks within?
Okay, well, go back to the beginning for me, bud. We're back. Yeah. So first off, with this god awful battle armor. What the hell? I hate the design of this battle armor. What's with those funky goggles there, Hawkeye? And it's like I don't know what's wrong with the way it looks. It's just it's not cool. I do not like the design of that battle armor at all. Keep rolling up. Let's go to page 4 for me. Let me see here. Something that totally keep going one more. Yeah, okay. So this little bottom panel with Cap. There's no way you can enlarge that, David? See this little bottom panel with Cap there? Yeah. You bring it up. So this is the scene where Cap is kind of Skyping in, right? Having a meeting with the West Coast Avengers, telling them, yeah, you guys got to get your team together. And he talks about all the people in the background. So is that Quasar that's dressed like Nomad? And why is Scarlet Witch back there? Isn't she with the guys in the West Coast? Because she's over there. Well, where is she? Is she on the teleprompter with Cap in New York, or is she on the West Coast with everybody trying to pick teams? Right?
2 words: astral projection.
Yeah, astral projection, right?
Yep.
She just happened to zip in and out. And Hulk mentions that it's supposed to be She-Hulk and Quasar back there. Instead, we got Nomad and Scarlet Witch, he's been drawing in all the panels. So obviously I can't blame the writer for it or anything, changing anything. Yep. He totally was drawing Scarlet Witch in both places.
Yeah, the editor dropped the ball there with that one. Yeah. I saw that too. Yeah.
So that was I was like, wait a minute, where is she? No, she's on the TV. What the hell? Right. So I noticed that. Lots of stuff that are good about this. He's got a good command of the anatomy. I wouldn't say he was the best Marvel artist I've ever seen for that kind of thing. There's a couple of good fight scenes, lots of good motion. The splash page, of course, was kind of ruined for me because it's just a big splash page of Hawkeye in his battle armor, which sucks, right? So I don't know. If you're gonna give Hawkeye battle armor, I don't know, don't make him look like he's one of Cobra Commander's minions or something, it's not good. Yeah, other than that, he draws fine faces. There's lots of good shots of people, good backgrounds. Didn't find it to be overly heavily inked. Just a few places I think that he got lost in what he was supposed to be drawing. Like David, you mentioned that he was really good at storyboarding, but I think for me, a mistake like that shows me he's not very good at storyboarding. He just kind of went along and did whatever. Oh, put some Avengers in the background. I'll put Scarlet Witch. Oh, wait, I just drew her in the last 7 panels, right? On the other side of the country. Yeah, there's some good stuff here. Definitely, I've seen better panels. He's no Mike Zack, that's for sure.
Mm-mm.
If you keep rolling a bit, like this one where Hawkeye is like totally like square in the air like that. Well, it was back. That kind of stuff. When I see that, it's like, like see, he's just getting tossed. Like, phew. I guess so. There's lots of motion lines there. I think we would have figured it out with all that extra stuff there. Still, cool. You can tell he was trying to draw a good fight where USA Agent just doesn't, mop the floor with and kill Hawkeye in like the first little bit, right? Hawkeye has no superpowers whatsoever other than he's just a good shot. He's not even like got superpowers to make him a good shot. He's just a good shot. So yeah, there's some good stuff in here. I ended up giving it a 2.5, right? Because he got confused. I think I would have got him a little bit higher if I didn't kind of just irk me with that, a little bit of character confusion. You should be paying attention to what's going on. If you're illustrating a story, right, you need to keep that story complete. Just like a writer can't be writing people in different places, otherwise he's going to get a bunch of letters. A storyboard or a comic book artist has to keep all the characters on panel straight as well, where things go awry for the reader. So yeah, I gave it a 2.5. It was good enough. Would have got better, without those little bits. So that's where I ended.
All right, 2.5 it is. So we got our first serviceable of the evening. Let me remove this down there. And what say you, chat? What did you think about the scribbles within? Was it merely competent, or did you see something a little extra? See, I never noticed the Scarlet Witch in the background there. Guess I should have been reading a little closer. I had to lose my Grader's Note card.
Yeah, I saw that, and they say vid disc. Put on the vid disc. So I thought maybe it's like delayed, from something they transport. But Scarlet Witch has been with the West Coast for many issues, and Nomad, as far as I remember, had never been close to the Avengers. He was a very brief time with Captain America. So yeah. And there's one other. If you look on page, I left this to see if you guys would notice this on page 8, right? Hawkeye is shooting an arrow at the ground underneath on the second panel.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. Notice he's launching with his right hand with the shield. On the next panel, he's wearing the shield with his left hand. Okay, because he has to be on the ground to grab that arrow and throw it. So, there's continuity problems there. So, there are little bits like that he messed up. But
that's why you never work at Marvel, sir.
Yeah, they all do. So,
good catch there.
Wanda's evil twin. Maybe it was during the clone. Is that like Wanda Riley? Was that the other
Wanda Riley?
That was back there. Yeah. That's how they found out about it. There was a problem.
And what about Nomad? Where did he come from?
That is a strange one. Like,
I mean, come on.
At this point, I think he had his own run, didn't he? So I don't know why he would even be in that costume. That's for sure.
That's right. He should have had the other one. That's right. 91. I think he just started his run. You're right. Yeah.
He should be wearing his mirror sunglasses and
trench coat. Yeah, exactly.
And his long flowing locks.
It's just odd. It's just odd.
Well, somebody like Avengers too is like, why'd you pick these losers? But it is what it is.
Hey, we got the Great Legend. How you doing, my friend? Yep. Long time no see. Wow.
Glad you could join us as we dissect this amazing book. That was Cap's new Bucky. He was something, man.
That was Jack Monroe, man. That was
I like it. Issue number 8. I had that one my cover of the weeks actually for Nomad book. So yeah. I have quite a few of the original run. But another non-powered guy, right?
Yeah.
So let's see here. All right, so we got exactly one. Oh, we got 2 scores, so this is gonna be easy because they're both a 3 right now. So you have 10 more seconds to get your grades in on the art, and then we're gonna show off the next book here. Going once, going twice. Sold at 3. So chat comes in with a 3. Pretty solid score from chat.
Yeah, that was my score. I just want to mention that.
Yeah, that's 2 for 2 now. So chat's picking up what you're laying down, sir. So, Sir Dave, what, pray tell, are the choices for this evening?
Yeah, let's take a look. So I got, let's just go with two choices here. Good choices, I think. I've got Savage Dragon #1.
Eric Larson, right?
Eric Larson action.
Mm-hmm.
Or Iron Man #225, which is the first of the Armor Wars.
Oh, yeah.
You just never see enough of the controller.
Yeah. You saw him a lot. Well, not a lot, but you used to see him in the 60s and 70s more. Yeah. Well, I'd go for the Iron Man myself.
Like Iron Man?
That was always my favorite trade dress too of the series.
Yeah.
I always liked that version of Iron Man.
Yeah, what it's kind of like it's kind of like tilted up
like
that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I like that Silver Centurion armor too. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't, but I dug it.
I dug it.
Okay, Miracle has good taste too. All right, good to know.
Well, let us know what you think, chat. Which one would you like to see? And then my vote is also for Iron Man, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if we. I
don't know if we can
out, so.
Dragon never
Dragon.
Savage, only because I have it. I don't know if I still have my Savage Dragon one. I don't remember.
I was already out of comics by this point, so.
Yeah, I think I did. I think somebody gave it to me way back when.
Great Legends voting for Iron Man.
Iron Man, a man of great taste. He is. And we got another Iron Man from Bill. Oh, Savage Dragon from Alex. Hey, Alex, how you doing, my friend? I didn't see you.
Good to see you, Alex.
Yeah, our buddy from Kentucky.
Yep. He's probably like me, waiting for some spring weather finally. All right.
I don't think it's that cold up there, is it?
Oh, he's about the same temperature zone as me, so
oh, really?
It's not that cold. Like this last week's actually been in the 40s and 50s, like in the middle of the afternoon. Of course, I'm working, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Right? Yeah, you're inside. Yeah.
I'm just tired of it. Tired of warming my car up in the morning, and
oh yeah,
because I leave the house at like 6:30. So,
ooh, warming your car up at 40 degrees? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man.
Hey,
ice.
In Miami, we used to warm it up at 50.
Of course, I'm old school. You don't have to warm up cars anymore, but I can't help myself. I grew up doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it, dagnabbit. So what do we got?
Run for a couple minutes and get the oil flowing, but.
So let's do a count here. We got 1 for Dragon, 2 for Dragon, 3 for Dragon. So we got 3 for Dragon. And it looks like 1. Is that 2 for Iron Man?
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, 2 for Iron Man, 3 for Dragon.
Now, do our votes count?
Nah, we're not in the chat. We're not in the chat. We don't count.
So we took that poser Larson, huh? All right, that's fine.
Okay, Savage Dragon it is.
Savage Dragon. Oh, this is gonna be a hoot. Sometimes you shouldn't give artistic license to artists, you know.
Ooh.
No, actually, I've never read it, so.
I've read it, but so long ago I don't remember it. So.
Temperature lower to my age, I'm turning on that heater. Well, that could be that's a pretty big wiggle room you got there, then, isn't it? All right, so I think Iron Man's Armor Wars trade, so I might have that too. Oh, well, now you're a little late now, Jackson. You had your chance.
Yeah.
All right. So there we go. Let me switch this back here. And we are down to the last 2 categories, and then we'll go ahead and give a final score. Right now, we're going to move on to the story. So I'll go ahead and lead this one off. And really, I guess I could show the inside, but it's not really all that important. We put it up here to where Hawkeye is giving his kind of spiel, which I dig. Okay, so this book in a nutshell is a fight, and then the whole precursor to the fight, interspiced within. The first thing that'll probably turn a lot of people off is it's kind of set up like a Pulp Fiction style, you know, where it's really out of order as far as continuity of what's going on. It's not done in a bad way. It might be a little jarring to some. I think they wanted to get the fight going a little bit quicker to grab attention. So, hey, what's going on, Gray Man? Good to see you, by the way.
Great.
But that's really the whole essence of this book, right? You have this plot about them voting in the next members of the West Coast Avengers, and they do an internal vote, of course. And then the entire time, for whatever reason, Hawkeye is antagonizing John Walker. He doesn't like John. I think he thinks John was foisted upon him, which he kind of was, by a government who was really trying to push this guy. It was like Vince McMahon trying to give him the push, right? But he wasn't happy about it. I like this book because it makes, for once, one of the heroes not look so good, right? Hawkeye looks like a jackass in this book, and you're almost rooting for a U.S. agent at that point, and he didn't get a lot of that in his books, right? But it's like, I can see where Agent's coming from, and you also get to see a little bit softer side of Agent, believe it or not, in this one, because he kind of spares Hawkeye, even though he does teach him a pretty good lesson, right? Now, whether Hawkeye learns anything, we don't know. But yeah, it's not overly complicated. You know, there's a lot of dialogue in this issue, surprisingly, for as much fighting is, because even while they're fighting, they're talking. But there's a lot of them sitting at the desk, you know, making decisions on who to vote for. Not always the most exciting source material, but it is a pretty good setup to watch Hawkeye just antagonize Walker over and over. And you gotta get the sense too, and I always liked Hawkeye. You get the sense too, is like, you know how a guy will act when he's around with his big friends or whatever, and gets a little more yappy than he should with other people because he knows people's guys back. So he's talking an awful big game with his fellow Avengers around him to John Walker, but you know, he's no match for John Walker, but he is man enough to go out and fight him fisticuffs. So basically, let's get down to the important part of this issue, and that's the fight. And boy, is there a fight in this book. This whole book, or half the book, is a fight, and which is pretty good considering the combatants, right? This is Hawkeye. This is human old Hawkeye. And eventually he throws away his weapons too, which is kind of a nice little touch, right? He's trying to teach John Walker a lesson, but he is no match for John Walker. John Walker is 10 times stronger than Cap. He's basically Cap on steroids, right? On super soldier serum steroids from the power broker or whatever. He's huge. He can lift 10 tons. So it's like, and he even makes a mention of this in the book. You know, it's like, it's a good thing I'm pulling my punches, or you look like one of these jellyfish floating around the water. That's a nice little touch there. Hawkeye won't give up. He keeps fighting, and he keeps being a jackass throughout. So for good or ill, he sticks with his guns. I won't go too much more there because I'll leave some meat in the bone for some other people. But there was a line in here that I've remembered it since I read it. Since I read it. As I said it again. You know what I mean? But it's always stuck with me. And here's where John Walker's talking about kind of how strong he is, and like, you know, I've earned my place here. And I love this line from Hawkeye. It's like, well, maybe Steve Rogers can't juggle elephants, but he's still worth 100 of you. And that's like the best line. He loves Cap. He knows what Cap is. And, you know, Cap, of course, and U.S. Agent have never seen eye to eye that well because they have a different way of going about things. But I've always loved that line. And then he's like, I'm never going to waste another arrow on you. And that's when he throws his weapons down and he really gets down to fisticuffs, right? So I think it was a really good story. Simple, but good. Like, and a lot of comic books forget this. Like, that's why another reason I picked this book, because they try to get into these huge intrigues going on here and world ending events. That's kind of an Avengers thing, right? This one is much closer to home. This talks about the insecurities of a guy like Hawkeye, right? And he's trying to buy like ex-wives and girlfriends too, which also might make him puff up a little bit. But it paints him in a very bad light. He's not a sympathetic character in this book, and I kind of dig on that too. But it's a two heroes fighting, and all too often in books like this, you see it on the cover and maybe 3 panels inside, and that's all you see of it. And they figure out their differences and they resolve it, and everything's all fine, hunky dory. There's no resolution here. John Walker beats him unconscious, and then leaves him on the surf, and then just walks away from everybody, which is also very in keeping with the character. So I like it a lot. But it's nothing groundbreaking here. It's nothing too amazing, and it could have gone a little less dialogue, to be honest with you, because some of those panels get a little hard to read. Those pages, they're just nothing but text. I gave it a 3, just because I think it's a really good fight within, and some of that kind of hinges on art too. But I just like the character building here. Once again, you have an unsympathetic hero in Hawkeye, who's usually kind of a goody two-shoes type. You have a very unsympathetic character like Walker, who the reader can start empathizing for, because who wants to eat that from this jerk constantly? And you kind of feel a little bit sorry for him when he gets voted off the island. But then he's like his own man. He's like, I'm not going to beg you. You don't need me, or I don't need you. You need me. And he walks off. I think that was a great closer. and I gave it a 3. Nothing new here, nothing amazing, but I think this is how a lot of like one-shot comics should read. To the point, had a little extra dynamic or depth to the characters, and just tell us a good story with a good fight. And that's a comic book, so I gave it a 3.
All right. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Well, Sir Dave, what say you upon the story within?
Well, I guess we're complaining about how they do that Pulp Fiction thing where they're jumping back and forth, but I actually think that was a real smart move in this play, because there's so much dialogue and stuff going on in here. It's like, when did the West Coast Avengers start channeling Days of Our Lives? Like, everybody's breaking up and everybody's having a hard time with this, and my ex-wife, and I'm just gonna be like Hawkeye and US Agent are throwing shade at each other the whole way through. Mostly, like you said, Hawkeye is trying to goad US Agent. I'm sure this whole fight, waiting for everybody, Hawkeye's not stupid. He knew he was going to lose that fight. He knew his buddies were going to come up and show up and see US Agent beating the crap out of him and take it the wrong way, right? And kick US Agent out. That was Hawkeye's plan the whole way, right from the beginning. But it was all the weird stuff, like Hawkeye gets in a fight with Mockingbird, right? And even though they've broken up, and she's all pissed off at him and leaves. Scarlet Witch breaks up Wonder Man, which that whole relationship is really weird, because if you know Wonder Man, Ultron, Vision's history, Vision is got the same brain patterns as Simon, got his brain patterns from Wonder Man, right? So it's kind of like they've always considered themselves brothers. So why was Wanda dating him anyway? Who else gets oh yeah, Hank Pym and the Wasp also call it quits, right, with one another. It's like, what? Did we just have everybody in the West Coast Avengers have this big breakup moment, and what am I supposed to do with all that? Right. So that was weird, but they kept intersecting this fight between them in there, which was good, because man, it was well, how many votes can we have for this, and how many votes can we do this, and this person votes that, and we're throwing some, you're a jerk and you better stop teasing me, and I'm going to tell that you're being a bully, and I'm allowed to be here because the government said so, and the government pipes in, no, you're not allowed, we bring that back. And everybody all the way through the whole thing, right up to the end, where Iron Man's like, you haven't earned your place, so you're out of here, buddy. And for the third time in the comic book, Agent gets a big huff and walks off, right, before he smashed the table, and I could be an Avenger, you guys you don't know me, right? I'll be the best Avenger ever, my mom said so. They take all the votes, and I added up the votes, and so we had, what did we have here? Hawkeye got 4 votes, Mockingbird got 1 vote, Scarlet Witch got 5, Wonder Man got 5, Tigra got 4, Quicksilver got 2, Iron Man got 5, the original Human Torch got 3, USA Agent got 1, which of course, Hawkeye goads him about, oh, you only voted for yourself, that's how you got to vote there, loser, right? Pym got 5, the Wasp got 5, and Machine Man got 1. I'm like, Machine Man? He's not even in this comic, right? Where the hell did he come from? I guess maybe the West Coast Avengers knew it, but everybody was I was like, Machine Man. But if you add that up, okay, so they specifically say in the comic book, you get 5, everybody gets 5 votes times whatever, and it added up to 40. But if you add up these numbers, that comes out to 41. So someone cheated.
Yep. Somebody put another vote in there.
Someone put an extra vote in there. There's only 3 people with 1 vote: Mockingbird, USA Agent, and Machine Man. So was it Mockingbird that cheated, or was it Machine Man? Because USA Agent probably voted for himself. That one's
no. Mockingbird didn't vote. She wasn't an Avenger at this point.
Mockingbird didn't vote, so it must have been Machine Man. Machine Man cheated.
I think you forgot the second Scarlet Witch, man.
Yeah, that's right. It was
maybe
her.
The doppelganger Scarlet Witch added the extra votes.
Oh man.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there was a little continuity stuff there with that. The wanting, it was a we're gonna shake up everything. Is this Roy Thomas taking over this book? Is that what's happening here?
Yes, that's right.
Because he basically wipes everything clean. He's like, nobody's in a relationship, nobody's everybody goes, no bad guys on the team. Oh yeah, the wonderful foreshadowing that happened at the end where Hawkeye's like, I hope he doesn't become a bad guy after leaving the team. Oh, freaking give me a break, man. Oh, thanks. Hawkeye said so. Jeez, come on. Yeah, I think that's enough bitching about this one. Story, I definitely gave the worst mark to you. I thought it was overly wordy. The fighting was fine, I guess. It's like Dave said, we've seen superheroes fighting each other before. And yeah, I guess it was kind of good in the Uno Reverso, like trying to make the USA agent seem like he was being more better. And Hawkeye was pretty clever in getting him out of the team. But yeah, I still give it a 2. All the breakups and the weirdness and too much stuff going on, too much dialogue. And like, I'm glad they broke it up with the fight so you wouldn't just get like 9 pages, which would have been like reading 9 pages of a novel at that point. Every panel was like stuff full of dialogue, except for the fight scenes, right? So it was just clear the palette and keep going with these great big dialogue sets. Anyways, 2 from me. The story.
2. Okay.
All right, Sir Medrog, what was your take upon the scribbles within? Are we talking Wordsworth kind of greatness here, or are we talking kind of the bottom of the barrel carnival burger? What say you, sir?
Well, this was tough for me to grade in this category because it's sort of a tale of two tales, for lack of a better term here. Roy and Dan Thomas, the husband and wife team, came in after Byrne was on this book for a while. And essentially what they're doing here is they have the fight scene to sort of settle things between Hawkeye and Walker that have been brewing for a long time. And then the rest of it is sort of undoing what Byrne was doing and when he was plotting and when he was writing it. He turned the Vision into a more of an automaton, emotionless, and thus Scarlet Witch floated more towards Simon Williams, which is essentially where his Vision's brain patterns were. So that's a natural kind of somebody to comfort her, et cetera. That's out the window. Then his team was also changed because Pym was the leader. Now he's now an alternate. By the way, there's did you notice that there's like all types of different status of Avengers? There's the main Avengers, there's the reservists, there's the alternates, and then there's the probationary. I mean,
only the main ones get insurance, though.
It's mind-boggling. What so much red tape in here, right? And then even like Mockingbird, he created the Great Lakes Avengers, and then Mockingbird came in from Detroit, essentially saying, "Oh well, that's it for that." I mean, in like 2 panels, and they don't appear again until much later on. And then again, Hank Pym and Jan, he was trying to get them together, and that's split. It's like Miracle was saying. It's like as the Avengers turns, Now that flash forward, I counted 4 times where that was interrupting the fight. I get it that you don't want just a monotonous, but 4 times, I think 2 would have been good enough, because just when things are getting good, then you get into this soap opera stuff, and then you're going back to the fisticuffs, and the dialogue in the fight, I think, is really good. Like what Gino was saying, I think that was really, you really did see that Walker, although he's a jerk and he is overbearing, he doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to beat him up because he's a brat, he's a bully, he's just always trying to get under his skin, and he's had enough, right? But all this stuff that and then there's the Avengers now under the United Nations, and they have to have 7, and you have to vote. I mean, it's like this. It's almost like you have this great meal right over here, and then the dessert is like rotten. It just doesn't. The whole thing just doesn't really work for me together. There's too much going on that that interpersonal stuff out there that's just like it's almost like in a bat of an eyelash, it's gone. And yet you have this prolonged fight, which was really intriguing. I was really into it, but so many interruptions kind of, to me, just kind of quashed the mood there. I was like, I wanted to get popcorn and see what's going on. And then it's like, oh, here we go again. Days of our Avengers, you know? So I just thought it was too much back and forth. I think 2 would have done it, you know? But the actual fight dialogue, you're right, Gino, is great. Now, Hawkeye it's got to be the most foolish guy on Earth. I mean, when he first started, he had the armor, he has the quiver, the arrows. Okay, he has a fighting chance. He'll probably lose anyway, but he's going to do some damage to John Walker. So, but what does he do? Like right a little bit after the fight, he takes off everything, including his gauntlets. He's got nothing. He's doesn't have a chance. I mean, he's no Captain America. He's not a fighter to the level of Captain America. He's not bad, you know, but he's not Captain America. And Walker is, you know, he can punch him all day and he's not going to really hurt him. You know, he's going to hurt his fist before he's going to hurt him. So he's, like you said, he's trying to prove a point, this machismo stuff. Now, Hawkeye was the leader of the West Coast Avengers for a long time. You know, if he's trying to get back to being a leader, this is not the way to do it. You know, it's not a way to do it, to do this foolish stuff. Imagine would you follow a guy who would do something this foolish? I mean, I'd be reticent to do that. And then right at the end, you know, like you said, you know, the Avengers come in, you know, Iron Man does this little spiel here to US Agent where he says, you know, this is a team and you're a grandstander, a troublemaker ever since you came aboard. He's talking to US Agent here, not Hawkeye, right? But you can say the same thing, right? And then he says something, you know, that Hawkeye has earned. I don't find out. Hawkeye has earned his way onto the team. Well, guess what? That's not what the parameters are. It's by vote. It's not by who you think earned it, right? So, again, there's just a lot of problems with continuity. A lot of issues here with, you know, the vision that they have that's all of a sudden just erased from the previous issues. I don't like that. I like it when at least you have some kind of logic behind it. You know, not just, oh, I want this to be resolved in one issue. So let's just say, Wanda, Wonder Man, I don't want you anymore. Jan and I are leaving. And then if they're leaving, why didn't they say that before the vote? Why did they say it after? Does it make any sense? No sense. Again, the writers have to really focus more on what they're accomplishing to make the story more coherent and more logical. So the good, the fight, the way that they portray the two characters, I think, brilliantly done. But all the drama and the red tape stuff and the erasing and the rushing through of changing dynamics, I think that was very poorly done. So they kind of balance each other out. So I gave it a 2.5. I wish that stuff could have been taken care of in a much different way. That back and forth was a little too much for me. I wish maybe 2 interruptions, but 4 too much. This is not Pulp Fiction. This is Days of the Avengers. Okay? So 2.5. That's what I get.
All right, 2.5 from Metrog there. Another serviceable coming in this evening. So what say you, chat? What was your take upon the story within? You've heard most of what it actually has to offer from our little dissertations there. And for as long-winded as it is, yeah, right, they don't talk about it a whole lot, right? Everyone is breaking up, and some people are getting voted off the island. But just like, there's not going to be enough people to man the stations because everyone's leaving. Yeah. It's very strange. But yeah, so what say you on the grades? And then we'll give it a few moments, and then we'll move on to the last category. Odd, very odd choice.
Odd.
Very odd.
I can see he probably had his own ideas for some stories, some upcoming stories he wanted to do. So it was probably like, I need to clear this plate. Everything that's got it's done.
The Great Reset, yeah.
I'm going back to the 70s comics like I used to write.
It's like, man, it's like, did you have to do it all in one issue though?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's
I don't know.
I mean, when they used to change the Avengers way back, they would introduce Wonder Man. He was there for a year, and then okay, he's proved himself. Okay, let's consider him for membership. But Machine Man, he was in the Terminus Factor, which the Avengers were in. and I think Iron Man beat him up in his issue a couple times, and that's it. Who I don't know. Maybe Iron Man voted for him because he saw him back then. But
for spare parts, is like just in case he gets hurt, he's got someone to take parts out of him.
Okay, why? I don't know why Machine Man, but okay, whatever.
I know it was just didn't make much sense at all. That.
Yeah.
All right, let me start tabulating the scores here.
Yeah, Jackson Roykirk says he blames Dan Thomas for the problems there. Well, Roy Thomas has a pretty good track record, but you got to take it as a team.
And chat comes in with a 3, believe it or not.
Okay.
2.7 technically, but
right,
let's see.
All right. I mean, I can see that, but
yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, some of it's bad per se. Yeah, the drama is kind of ridiculous. Like all the breaking up is hard to do, they say, right? But not in this episode.
Not in this issue.
Everybody broke up with everybody. There wasn't a single relationship left.
Yeah, it was weird. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting point you made there too, Dave. Is like, oh, her being attracted to. It's like being attracted to the twin of the girl you're dating or whatever, right?
Yeah.
When she was after Simon. But I don't know, Simon's a little more interactive than Vision, so maybe she should be going for him, And he never gets tired because of his ionic energy. So
true, but he's kind of a goofy guy.
And the votes are weird.
He's not totally human either.
No.
So I don't know if they can have a intimate relationship, but the Vision apparently was functional. So
he did well for himself, right? He got himself an insecure mutant. But all right, so let's go ahead and remove.
There's not that many of those around, Dave.
No, not at all. No. So this final category is a little, like I said, more ephemeral, but it's going to be the concept of the book. And what did the concept do? This one actually has one, though it's probably not the one most people think. We've touched upon it quite a bit in the story. So, Roger, why don't you lead us off here with the concept? What's your opinion about the concept of this book?
Okay. When you're talking about an issue like this, that's nothing. There's a lot going on, but nothing critical, right? I would say this has been that the bad vibes are between U.S. Agent and Hawkeye has been going up for a while, right? I mean, you got two alpha males that are hard-headed and just they snap like that, right? So that's a very, very bad formula for playing nice, right? It's a good formula for explosions, and Wonder Man had to hold down Walker here at some point because he was going after Hawkeye during those meetings, right? And then later on, Walker goes up to him and goes, "Okay, let's get down and dirt. Let's do it." Like if you were in high school, probably this happened to you once or twice, because you looked at somebody's girl or something. Okay, let's go outside after lunch and let's take care of this like two men, right? It had this was kind of that concept about this issue, right? That they just wanted to have this was brewing. It's sort of like a volcano that's the pressure is building and building till finally it explodes. Well, this was the explosion. That was to me the main thrust of this. And then there's a little part at the end which is foreshadowing the next issue. I'm not even going to mention that because that's really not, that's really not part of the concept here. I mean, obviously there's another storyline coming that after that, but not a cash grab. But I think it is a culmination of two characters that eventually had to, come to clash, come to fisticuffs here. I don't like the fact that, again, all the previous history was so quickly erased. When I understand that they want to clean the slate and all that, I get that, but it's not when you do it like this without any kind of foundation or explanation. To a nerd like me, I'm thinking why, and I don't get an explanation for that, right? But it's not a cash grab. I think the cover really details pretty well, or it illustrates pretty well what's going to happen in the issue. It doesn't illustrate those other little red tapes and the drama and things like that. But how are you gonna display that on a cover anyway? Little vignettes of breakups with a heart broken or something. I mean, it would be just silly, right? So that part is okay, but the fact is that again, we're sort of parsing this into two different areas here. One is that really great final kind of blow up between these two. And by the way, I like the fact that they displayed this the way that it would play out, right? Hawkeye doesn't stand a chance. Okay, so it's not like he used some trick to flip a big boulder on top of him or something and built and defeat him. No, it went the way it should have gone. Hawkeye beaten to a pulp because he's just foolish and he's trying to prove a point. And what the point is, other than being a hard-headed hothead, I don't know. But this was going to happen regardless. So I like the fact that the issue delivered on the apparent concept that is on the cover. That part is good. Other than that, though, I don't think this is something mind-blowing. I don't think there's anything here that's like super special, other than that little bit of exposition of you do get a little bit more about how John Walker and Hawkeye are, although I think that has pretty much been established. Although there have been times where both of them have been cooler characters, but most of the time this is how they are portrayed, and this is how they should be portrayed. As far as 50 years of continuity or more for Hawkeye. So I'm going to go right down the middle, Genome 2.5. I don't really have a strong feeling one way or the other. This is just something that happened when you move from one writer who had a certain direction that he wanted to go. You move to this one, and he has a certain direction, but I don't know what that direction is right now. It was very, it didn't really tell me anything. So I'm not going to put that against him because, he obviously has a plan which will go into the future, but it's not a cash grab. It does follow, what the progression is as far as the characters and the cover. So I can't really hate it for that, but there's nothing really mind blowing here either. So 2.5.
All right, another serviceable coming in there, and I stand in quite a bit of agreement with you there, Roger. I'll go ahead and take it from there. Yeah, man, this is like pushing the reset button, but it's kind of a soft reset. It's not like you expect on a big reset issue, like the cover would be like, West Coast Avengers, what will happen now, right? And it'd be half the team facing one direction, the other half the other, and maybe some tear coming down the comic cover or something. That'd be something like they would pull back then. Mm-hmm. But you didn't really see that in this one, so it's kind of weird. It's like a enigma wrapped up in a intrigue, wrapped up in a confrontation. It's interesting, interspersed with lots of personal relationship issues. Obviously, no one on this team gets along. So whatever the case may be, or it's a romantically dead team, there should be some rule about fraternization with the Avengers because it doesn't seem to work out well. But yeah, man, there's like nothing new here. Other than it's like, hey, we're setting up for the future, or a new dynamic is coming, right? And then after that, it's all just a character piece on two characters, one of which is not known that well. I mean, we don't know John Walker that well. I mean, he's never been painted in a good light. Like, he ascended to like prominence by staging a stunt, right, to show everyone how great he was. So he started out under a black cloud and kind of leaves under a black cloud in this one, but at least in this one, like the reader can empathize with him a little bit. It's like, well, you know what? How much crap this guy got to take, and listen to a bunch of self-righteous guys, talk down to him because he hasn't earned his chops or, earned his spot or whatever, but he's trying. I mean, if there's nothing else, John Walker has always been shown to want to do good, right? He wants to help and he wants to be a great hero. He just doesn't have a good mindset or way of going about it because he's just a little too unstable. Once again, we get back to what made him that way, though. Like, his parents were killed right in front of him. He has a very Punisher-esque story right there, right? Or Spider-Man story, just like he's the yin to Spider-Man's yang, right? He's a little more direct. Plus, he was given power so abruptly, he just couldn't deal with him. He wasn't the right mentality. But for all that, he's always shown as unstable, and he's been known to kill people, which is also nice because he doesn't let his rage take over here. and he beats some sense basically into Hawkeye, but doesn't kill him, doesn't even permanently injure him, which he could do quite easily. So, all that being said, as far as the concept goes, it's a good hero fight. That's a concept that was very popular and it helped push a lot of copy back then. And it's kind of a pretty soft reset for the team. What's going to happen in the future? Because man, I didn't have a lot of issues before this, so this must have been a real soap opera before. But so yeah, it's nothing new here, nothing amazing, but at least as far as concepts goes, hey, they're gonna give us a hero fight. They made it a good one at least, and they didn't give you the old switcheroo on that. So I can dig on that. So I was like Roger, I gave it 2.5. Nothing new here. But you got an established writer that's coming in. He wants to make some changes, but he can't do it. What's existing? He's like, okay, I see what I see here, and this is not what comic readers want. They don't want this whole relationship thing that much, whatever. So I'm going to push the reset button. I'm going to wrap a whole fight around it to keep people interested and make it a comic book, right? So nothing new there, but probably a pretty decent way of doing it, and not a bad book overall as far as concept goes. So I gave it 2.5. Nothing new here, but nothing especially egregious with the concept itself.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, Dave. What say you on this concept here? Was this your bag of chips, or is this simply a Molson Ice? Which is it?
Well, Molson Ice. Gross. I guess the concept, I wasn't even sure what to put as a concept created. I mean, what is the concept here? Cleaning the plate. They did that, right? Byrne. I can see Byrne setting up all these relationships, and that's just the way he wrote. He was a very dramatic writer. I think he picked that up from Chris Claremont early on. Roy Thomas, definitely not that kind of guy. Roy Thomas was very much that 60s, 70s, 80s, early 80s kind of comics were for kids guy, right? He didn't put in so much drama into it. But what really was the concept here? Show finally have the big fight, right? I don't think I was reading West Coast Avengers. As a matter of fact, I know I wasn't reading West Coast Avengers when this was out. And was the whole thing between him and USA Agent building up to this fight? Was this an 8-issue build up to finally being yay, the fight's on, right?
It was off and on, but yeah, it was a build up.
It was a little bit of a build up. So
yeah, it was off and on, but yeah, it was a build up. They never liked each other. Let's put it that way.
Right. But was it satisfactory? Were you yeah, finally, that was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember them doing. They did a lot of those kind of build-up things, the whole Hobgoblin story and stuff, and then finally, coming to fruition and Venom and whatever, right? Yeah, if I'm struggling to find the concept really, that I don't think it's pushed my buttons for being a great comic book story. You know what I mean? This was definitely okay. I don't like these guys dating. I don't like all this drama that Byrne's been writing into. Can't just leave the readers hanging, not having USA Agent fight this guy after so much build up. Here's the fight. Let's close the book on everything Byrne's done. And then now comes the next era of the West Coast Avengers. So if that's the concept, it did fine, right? You got rid of everything, got done. If the concept was to push any sort of real narrative, other than being maybe USA Agent will turn evil. I don't think they did that, right? There was lots of stuff going on, but it didn't really push the whole narrative of the West Coast Avengers forward. Maybe some of the characters who are we going to pick to be our 7 members? Oh, the 7 members we've had all along anyway, right? It didn't change very much. It wasn't like there was a big deal other than Mockingbird going to the Great Lakes Adventures. Okay. Anyway, I gave the concept a 2. If the concept was to just have double superhero fight, meh, right? Like David said, that was done again and again and again. So I thought that was rather tropish kind of area to go to. And if the concept was to revamp the whole West Coast Avengers team, well, I think they failed to do that since they just reelected most of the West Coast Avengers original members anyway, right? And
right.
If it was to push the narrative that John Walker is evil, and he's going to turn out to be evil. Okay, well, there was one note at the bottom panel of the bottom page, at the bottom panel of the last page, that pushed that narrative a little bit forward. Was it to clean house? Yeah, I couldn't follow exactly what the idea was here, other than to just end the Byrne era, time for the Roy Thomas era. Let's clear house. So I gave it a 2. I'm not a big fan of stuff like that. They could have stretched this out a little bit, and I don't think it was necessary to have everybody have big breakups and everything right in the middle of the comic book. So 2.
All right, 2 it is. And what say you, chat? What was your thoughts about the overall concept of this book? It is an interesting book. Like I said, it's sure not advertised on the cover that this is going to be like the revamp of the team. They could have said something, big changes ahead, or but they didn't do any of that. So it's kind of left up to the reader, which is an interesting way of doing it. But hey, it is what it is. So go ahead and get your scores in now, and go ahead and do our final tabulations, and then move on to blissful slumber.
Yeah, Jackson Roykart comes up with a good point. I mean, Byrne left, way before this. I mean, but the concepts were continued that he had set in motion. So that, I think, Thomas, I'm not sure when he started. I don't know if it was this issue or a few before, but I think he's just like Dave was saying, he's got to get his plan in place. And that means he's got to get rid of people. I mean, to get rid of John Walker, I think that was well done, right?
Yeah.
That seemed to me like that was well done, because we knew that there was something brewing. So there was a build up to it, and a boom and an explosion. I get that is well done. The other ones are the ones I thought were just too abrupt and just not. To me, you have to give it at least some thought, right? Now, if Wanda would have said to Wonder Man, well, I rethought our relationship, and I really do love the Vision or something. Okay, but it's sort of cut off there, So he's leaving that open, because maybe Wanda now is going to be written by somebody else. I don't know, but yeah, I think editing here was very weak, very weak.
And speaking of weak, we only have 1 score in there, people. Come on now, get with it. You have just a few more seconds here, but looks like it's a serviceable, coming in with the sole score from Gray Man. Yeah, I mean, like I said, nothing huge going on here. Yeah. But once again, this is the team that nothing huge really happened quite a bit on, because these are kind of like the rejects a lot of the time, of the Avengers. I mean, these are all big names of comic book guys, but none of the characters here really had their own series other than like Iron Man for very long, and so a lot of people will kind of look down their nose on the West Coast Avengers. So they weren't a next team, so who cared about him at this point, right? So
true. True. But you had Wonder Man, which that made sense, because he wanted a career as a stuntman. He had a career as a stuntman and an actor for a while. Tigra, sort of. I mean, during the miniseries, that was when they sort of assembled the team, and then Iron Man at one point was at the West Coast. I guess that made sense. But Hank Pym and Scarlet and Wasp were East Coast Avengers forever. So Byrne brought them. I think Byrne is the one who brought them over, and that's where he's like, okay, they're out of here. It doesn't work with this the crew that I want here. And then later on, Spider-Woman comes in, and then later on they become Force Works. So
who would have thunk it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I used to read the book just because I liked Hawkeye back then, and you couldn't find him a lot of places. But yeah, there it is. So it looks like we got a 2.5 from the chat. So let me go ahead and start tabulating their stuff, and we'll get on to the final score here. 3.
Hey, you could have bought Avenger Spotlight and seen him every month.
True. He had a little miniseries too, didn't he?
He had a couple of them. Yeah. Well, one of them was where he met Mockingbird, I do believe, the one from 82 or 83, somewhere in there.
I really like that West Coast Avengers limited series, and I still have it. I still have a copy of it.
Yeah, I do too.
Good, but
yeah.
All right, well, we'll see how good it was when we give our final score here. So, Dave, why don't you go ahead and lead us off since you started the show? What say you for the overall score here? Is this thing a sum of its parts, or is this thing a little more?
I think it's a little less. Like, I don't know. It's just too much, right? It's one of those, too much going on. not enough. Like so much going on. The artists were getting confused about who was where. The writers getting confused about what he was writing before and stuff like that. Too much, right? I get you want to change everything, but take 2 or 3 issues, change everything. I'm sure that people that are into the West Coast Avengers will read along for a couple issues while he changes stuff. He doesn't have to just be like in maybe a page worth of panels, like break everybody up, send everybody back, get this that going on, like to break up Hank Pym and the Wasp in just one panel, and they're like, yeah, we just decided we don't like each other. He's going to go be a scientist. I'm going to go back and be an Avenger. Like, these are 2 characters that have been together since, the early 60s, man. Like, you just like so nonchalantly break them up. Anyway, would I recommend this particular issue for people to read? No, right? No, I don't think so. Right? I don't think it was good enough. I think just too much weirdness going on. I think you probably want to read that issue if you were trying to read the series because so much happened, even though it'd be like weird. I don't think it was well written, and I didn't really like the whole concept of the book. So yeah, I gave the overall a 2.5. That's as best as I could do. It was serviceable. It cleaned the palette for Roy Thomas's next one. Too much stuff happened though. Couldn't give the story too much continuity. I did like the fighting. The dialogue was well written. But yeah, give it 2.5 for the overall. Wouldn't recommend it really.
Yeah, pretty early on in the West Coast run, actually, Hank and Wasp had already split, and he was actually chasing Tigra for a little while, and she was.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
She was leading him on just a little bit, but mostly rebuffing him. And this is back when he was having his kind of a breakdown stage too. I think he was having his problems with alcohol, whatever. But yeah, poor Hank.
There you go. Thank you, David.
If my memory serves, it's been a long time since I read it. So
no, I think you're right. Yeah, he wasn't really a superhero at that point. He was like the scientist. Yeah. At the beginning, He used to have he had like all those pockets with things he could grow. Remember?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Oh goodness, nothing like keeping a microscope in your pocket, So, Sir Roger, what say you? What was your thoughts on this overall? This book, was this serviceable or beyond?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. I gave it a 2.5. Now, when I look at my numbers, it's really closer to a 3, right? Because I really like that Hawkeye Walker fight. I just thought it was very well done, both in dialogue and art wise, and it was just it was an eventuality. So to me, I like that. I like when things are done that way, where they're a logical progression, and the fact that Walker beat the snot out of Hawkeye is what should have happened. So unlike Mr. Miracle, even though I gave it a 2.5, I would recommend this issue because I think that is more like the quintessential comic book fight there. It's not one of those where the underpowered guy just happens to, find some trick to beat the overpowered guy. No, it went the way it should have gone. And the Avengers eventually heard or knew what was up, and they came and stopped it, because otherwise Hawkeye would have just been just beaten to a pulp. Like you said, he wasn't really seriously hurt. He's probably got major bruises, broken nose or whatever, but he's okay. As far as that goes. But the cover, I think, was very strong. And again, that's something where to me, the cover is important for when you first buy the comic, right? And after that, it becomes a little less important to me. I think the story, again, tale of two tales here. The very rushed, as the Avengers turn, and the very well done dialogue and results of that fight. The art, I guess, was not bad. It was appropriate. I had some issues with it, but it for what it is, it didn't really, and it didn't really distract from anything as far as I could tell. A lot of continuity issues though. Lots of stuff where you're not paying attention. The editor, here. I think he just looked at it and said, fine, boom. Because, Scarlet Witch on that screen, come on. The three of us, or the two of us caught it at least. And we're no editors. We're just reading it for graders' notes, okay? And this guy had supposedly, that's his job, okay?
And a big page. He had a big page to look at too, right?
Right. And you can't count either. Or, well, maybe you can say, okay, somebody cheated. Okay, they can say that. They put 6. But, it wasn't explained as far as I remember, ever. So lots of little issues here that really detract from it ultimately. So, yeah, I give it a 2.5, but I still would recommend it. I think that fight by itself is enough for you to want to get this issue. If you can find it cheap, get it, because it's really well done. And it really does show just how much of a jerk Hawkeye can be, how foolish he can be. And it does show, like you said, a little bit of restraint on Walker's part. And that's something you didn't see too much when he was over in the Cap run.
All right, there you go. There we go. Let's see. I'm going to add this because this is kind of this is a tough one to rate. I actually lowered the score a little bit from the math, and I came in at a 3 because I was trying to take the nostalgia glass out. This book has a lot of nostalgia. It's like a very early comic book of mine. The date doesn't seem like it would be, but I've had this book forever and a day for whatever reason. I remember reading it quite a bit when I was younger, mostly because I liked Hawkeye and U.S. Agent. So I was like, oh, what a great mix, But this little panel says it all here when Hawkeye is still getting kind of self-righteous. It looks like he's taking care and he's doing pretty well for himself in the fight, right? He's getting his licks in. So far, John hasn't hit him once, right? At this point. But then all of a sudden he throws a punch and then John just catches it. He's like, in case anyone's ever bothered to tell you, you've been fighting out your league all these years. And then that's when everything changes. And that's when he really starts putting the whooping down on Hawkeye, right? And it's kind of funny. It's like, you know what? Maybe no one ever did tell him this. Like he has his uses, of course, being such a great sharpshooter and all that. But it's like, he's been thrown down with some pretty big and powerful beings, right? He shouldn't have been around. They should have just left him back at the Avengers mansion or whatever. But yeah, so there's a couple really cool lines like that in this book. And there's another line there where he's talking about you won't know to thank me for this, but these thank falls pull my punches. You look like one of these jellyfish out here. It's awesome, man. He's saying this while he's beating this guy down there. So I don't know. There's a lot of problems with this issue, but I'm with Medrock. I would definitely, if you're a fan of a good hero fight and a little bit of character building, at least with the 2 characters here, I say it's worth a read. All the other stuff, though, I could happily have excise and wouldn't miss anything. You could explain everything in 1 page, all the other drama, and get it out of the way. It's like the whole voting thing, and it took way too long to get through, and the relationship stuff. Who cares? You can build that over several issues, and I wanted to see the fight, and this book is the fight. And without it, it's nothing. And with it, it's at least something. So. Yeah, I gave it a 3, a little above average, just because I think there's enough good in here to help pull it out of the muck of mediocrity. But what this book does well, it does fairly well. And what this book does poorly, it does pretty bad. So it's definitely a book of extremes in a way. But, I'm glad to have read it again. And once again, it's so nice to see some of these self-righteous heroes get taken out a peg or two, especially from another hero. It's probably petty of me to say something like that, but it's like I love to see issues where Spider-Man got beat up. Just because, I don't like Spider-Man, but he's such a self-righteous prig. You can't stand him, and at least I couldn't. But so that's kind of nice, and you didn't see that too often. And once again, and it kind of puts you just a little bit in Walker's mindset. It's like, he's walking through life with kid gloves. He can never really let loose. And when he does, people die, right? So, and now he's with friends and teammates, and he's still losing it, but it's like he has just enough presence of thought not to completely let go, but he wants to. He wants to so bad, and so he doesn't. So he is a bad guy sometimes, but he's not always a bad guy. He's tough to judge, but whatever the case may be.
He's complicated.
He is complicated. And most Marvel heroes weren't. They were very cookie cutter,
Yeah, very two-dimensional. Yeah.
Which was kind of nice. And once again, I liked it when he let go and got savage because it was just different. And I like the whole anti-hero thing. So, but this is a guy I thought he was as good as his Cap. He wasn't nearly as good as Cap. Cap actually beat him physically too. But, he was always in Cap's shadow. No one ever gave him any respect. He had a hard life and upbringing. He wanted to do right, but he didn't have the right mentality for it. So it made him interesting. It was good to see him get a little bit of airtime and screen time and vent his frustrations. So overall, the book, I gave it a 3, just a little above average, just on the strength of the fight for the most part. But it's a comic book. You have to give the fight some credence, right? So I gave it a 3. So enjoyable enough in some aspects, but pretty piss poor in others.
Agreed. A tale of two tales is what I call it.
It is. It's almost like 2 different books, to be honest with you. Yeah. It's like you got one like writer in here who wants to talk drama, and the other one just wants to draw a comic book, and it's like, can we meet in the middle somewhere? But anyway, guys, that was it. And the overall chat score came in at a 3 as well. So obviously y'all are a pretty good take. It was all pretty even with them. They had 3.5 for the cover. They had a 3 for the interior art. They had a 3 for the story and a 2.5 for the concept. So I've read a lot worse books, that's for sure. But it's just different. It's just different. So anyway, I'm looking forward to. Is this going to be our second Image? How many Image books have we done now? Oh, we did Wildcats. So this is the second one I think we've done, right? Which is surprising.
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's been some others brought up, but they never got selected.
I wonder why.
Well, we'll soon find out if Eric Larsen's got the chops to not only draw, but to write a book. So time will tell.
So, Miracle, do you have something to show us tonight?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The great unveiling. Hold on, let me put you back. Here we go.
Oh. I thought it was going to be U.S. Agent. I was wrong.
Yep. He doesn't look beaten up there, though. It's not very much continuity.
Yeah. It should have a lot more bruises and maybe a broken tooth or something.
He does look pissed, so that's a good one of them.
He does, yeah.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Excellent.
There you go.
Even got stuff in his quiver back there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You have quite a sketchbook there from Grader's Notes, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work on those when we're done? Did you ever finish them up or just see what you can do while the show's going on?
Yep.
He's in the moment. He has to be in the moment.
The page gets flipped. Next.
Can't dwell in the past. You think Kirby sat around and looked at his old work? No, I got more comics to draw.
Yeah.
Right.
But
he was a workaholic, so forget it. Yeah. He was always working.
Someone was showing a picture of his gravestone earlier on Instagram.
Yep. I saw it. It had little Marvel figures or something around it.
Yeah, people will put those, what they got, the geostones or whatever, they were putting those on there.
Yeah,
it was cool. Interesting. Yeah. And plus everything was in they had in Yiddish writing too as on there. So it's kind of a nice little or Hebrew, should I say. That was interesting. Nice touch.
Was it Jacob Kirschberg, I think was his name? Jacob Kirschberg? Yeah, I think that was it.
That sounds
traditional.
Right.
It's traditional to put a stone on a Jewish grave.
Right. Right.
I don't know why. But
Mazel tov. I don't know. It's not in the Old Testament, but maybe.
Yeah.
I'll have to reread it again.
Tradition. Yeah, could be tradition came later on. Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank everyone for stopping in tonight. You guys got anything big coming up on the channels other than normal stuff, or
no?
Mr. Miracle, you don't have any more Undervalued?
Yeah, I haven't been doing them lately. I don't know. I got to get back into it, but
apparently Goblin Queen is the new one, right? And then
Goblin Queen,
some other character from the new Recon and stuff. I guess that's the spec now. I saw something on Instagram once again earlier about that. And I guess Goblin Queen's getting hot. Is she in a show or something or a movie coming up?
Probably. But Mr. Miracle does way before, any kind of hype comes. That's why I like his stuff.
I think maybe something in the silver suit of Iron Man was in there.
But, I just dropped. I'm doing a Genome. You may like this. My complete Captain America set from 100 to 454. So I'm doing it in chunks about 100. So I just dropped the second part today, which is up to issue right all the way through the Zek Beatty 289. So I've been enjoying. I read the whole run. All the way through to the end, and man, I just loved it. I
love the Cap run all the way through Grunwald. I loved what Grunwald did with it, and it got wacky with him, but I love that. And
me too.
I was always a mark for Captain America, so
yeah, me too. And the art in there was a few little weak parts, but man, you got Kirby, you got Buscema, you got Byrne, you got Zek, then you got Rick Levins.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a big fan of him.
Ron Lim went through a phase with him.
Ron Lim, yeah. And the end was a little bit weaker, but honestly, there's not really a bad artist on there except for 1 or 2 issues. So anyway, try to check that out when you have a chance because it's about 15 minutes or so, and you get to see all the covers and the crossovers. So and the annuals too.
Gotta love it. All right. Well, I'll be doing my Friday night show tomorrow, so I guess tune in for that. Maybe I'll be still healthy enough to do it. And we have the book once again. Next time is Savage Dragon. Is that number 1?
Yeah,
number 1.
Yep, Savage Dragon number 1. So stay in there for some Eric Larson / Image goodness. And maybe we'll get Kenny to join us next time. So thanks again for watching. You are the best chat in the business. Good to have some grades. And that was a good catch there, by the way, Dave. Stay tuned in 2 weeks' time on Mr. Miracle's channel to see that amazing show. And until then, this is the Graders Notes crew signing out. Thanks for stopping by.
See you, boys.